No way. Hey, Will.
Yo, what's
Get
up?
over here. Look at this.
What am I looking at?
I'm in Facebook right now. Look at these numbers.
Dude, what did you do?
Dude, look at these numbers now in Instagram.
What? How?
Yeah. They've gone up in just a couple of weeks.
How?
By listening to Enid Jones. That's right. So if you are wanting to start a business in 2020 and you wanted to grow on social media, then you know where you need to start? You need to contact Enid Jones, the Social Mermaid. She's a photographer and social media strategist. She will help give you a strategy to move forward in 2020 with a practical, realistic approach or growth. For testimonials, reviews, and more, you need to go find her on Facebook or Instagram. We listened to her, and in just a couple of weeks, man, our numbers are up. So if you go to Instagram, you can find her by pix.by.enid. That's pix.by.enid. And if you go on Facebook, just search Enid Jones Photography. She's not that hard to find. Go and search her today. Hey, this is Rob T.
Hey, this Big Will.
The week is almost through,
And there's a lot we thought through.
and we just want to share it with you. Some of it may be motivational,
Some inspirational.
but it will always be sensational. So sit back
And relax.
and check out what's on my mind.
Oh, yeah, brother. We are the cream of the crop. We rise to the top. We are the best in the business. Can you dig it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why I just felt like starting with Macho Man.
Go for it, Macho. Go for it, Macho.
What's up, everybody? This is Rob T.
It's Big Will.
There's Melissa.
And you're listening to
What's on My Mind.
I know we've been gone for a little bit. Yeah.
Hey, we need a little break.
Yeah, we
need
had
a
to
little
take
break.
a little bit of a break, but we are back now. It was after Sound for the Crown. It just wore us out. That was just one
Yeah.
heck of a venue, one heck of a show, and it was just amazing,
Dude.
to say the
Dude,
least.
all the bands, fire.
Yeah,
My favorite, though,
yeah,
I'm kind of bipartisan,
of course.
is Relent.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
all right. Just kidding. They are fire.
So,
They're insane.
So,
I
speaking
love
of which,
Relent. They're my favorite.
I was talking to Miggy, right, today?
Yeah.
And he goes, hey, is Rob making a brisket today?
Oh my God.
For the
Of course he is.
podcast?
Of course he is.
And I was like, yeah, I think he is making a brisket. He was like, tell him me and my wife and my kids will be there.
No brisket today, but
I thought you
soon.
said biscuit, and I was like, oh,
No.
I'm in.
I'll take briskets too.
Can I just go for biscuits?
Anyway, yeah, we were gone for a couple of weeks, but we are back now. And listen, today I'm really excited about today's show. As you already heard, our special guest today is Michelle Hagerty.
Hey, guys.
And there's a great reason why we brought her in today. So check this out. Audience right now, whoever's listening, wives, if you have husbands that don't listen to this show, you need to go get them right now, because I'm talking to all the brothers right now. You guys need to pay attention and really listen to today's show.
Yep.
Today's show is literally what the title of our show is, What's on My Mind. This
Yep.
has been on my mind all week, since last week.
So when you brought this topic to me today,
Yeah.
I haven't stopped thinking about it.
Yeah, it's just it shook my world. So this is how I want to start things off. Okay, so I saw this meme on Facebook. All right, and when I read it, it literally just shook me. Right, babe? I mean, we talked about it like probably immediately after. So here's what the meme said, so you guys can know what I'm talking about. I'm just talking verbatim here. I don't have it in front of me, but it basically said, every female in your life that you know is scared to walk home at night. That's it. That's all it said. And that statement blew my mind, because as a male, as a man, I've never had to deal with that. And it goes far, far deeper than just that statement. And it really kind of made me start to think of this world in a little bit of a different way. So I'm going to say this. I'm going to start off the conversation by saying this. Men, we are very... I don't even like using this word because I feel it's so unfair, but it is what it is. We're very fortunate that we don't have to live the life that females do, because of the way that this world sees females and males, and it's just not fair. And a lot of this is coming to light for me. I'm still very ignorant in a lot of this stuff, but let's just start with this. Honey, you and I were talking, and I told you about this meme, right away. and I told you how I felt was unfair. And then this is when you share with me some things that you were brought up that just blew me away, because it was stuff that I never would have thought of. I remember stuff being told like, don't talk to strangers, don't get into a stranger's car. But it was a little deeper for you.
Well,
right?
yeah. I mean, I can't speak, of course, for every single female, but I mean, for the most part, what you said is absolutely true, and as females, from pretty much all of my life, I imagine yours as well. I mean, we're taught, don't ever go into
You still haven't said what it was, though. Did you say what it was?
Yeah, I said what
Oh,
it
my
was.
bad.
Very beginning.
Sorry, I was distracted. I was
Listen,
posting.
If you were
Michelle.
paying attention.
This is why you brought me on. Because
She's
she's
here and not here at the same time.
My bad. I'm sorry. I was posting.
No, so yeah, I mean, we're taught, never go out in the dark by yourself. Don't, make sure that you travel at least in pairs or groups. I mean, as women, a lot of us are taught to take up as little space as possible to...
When you're walking out to your car after you get groceries, or not even get groceries, just when you're walking out to your car at night, if you're by yourself, there's ways you hold your keys.
Yeah.
So if somebody comes
between
after
your
you,
fingers.
it's in between your fingers. Exactly. I mean, that's not really something that maybe that you
it's
guys...
not going to do anything.
I
but,
mean, honestly, right? If you see a van by your car,
Yeah.
wait. And, things like that.
Or do you check your car? Like look under the
do.
car? Look at,
and the back seat, things like that. But I think some of that also comes from reading Goosebumps or just scary stories when you're little. But no, for real. I mean, if I'm going out to throw trash away at night or in the morning, take the trash out and it's dark and it's my own home, it's a pretty safe neighborhood, but there are always times where I'm like, is somebody watching or, and it's a different type of fear that's instilled in us. It's not fear. I don't know. It's just, you're just raised with always being aware of
it's like
men.
As sad as it is to say, we have to always be prepared that somebody wants to hurt us.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so being a mother, have you had these conversations with your daughter?
I think I have. I'm trying to think because I have 4 boys and their
Right.
conversations, I don't really have it, but I've had a lot of conversations with Elijah about what women go through.
Right.
He's raised by a feminist mom, and, but he's so used to having very strong, independent women in his life that he almost assumes that we're okay, maybe. I mean, I'm not really sure about that, but it's this weird double standard, for us to feel like treated like we're the weak ones and we have to be careful everywhere we go. But at the same time, men are being conditioned to take care of a woman and make sure she's on this side of you when you're walking on the road. So she's gonna get hit by a car because you're bigger or you're stronger, or, Elijah, I think it's automatically instilled in him to want to protect and take care of Caitlin, his little
Right.
sister, he's a month older,
Right.
Protect him from, guys, because we know how guys think. And it's like, well, maybe you guys, instead of us protecting or like watching how you guys are to us, maybe you guys should just kind of change the way you are,
Yes.
And so those are the things that have been hard trying to focus on, not to perpetuate the double standard, because I have 4 boys and 1 girl, and she's very strong, she's very independent, but there's lots of double standards. I mean, something as simple as, guys can walk around shirtless, and Caitlin was wearing a sports bra one day. I was like, you can't do that, and the reason why she couldn't do that, was because guys are looking at her. I was like, whoa. And I like checked myself. I
Right.
got, she was upset with me, but I remember I was like, oh, wait, the reason why I'm telling you not to dress a certain way, not to look a certain way, isn't because of what you look like. It's what other people think that they can do to you, and that's not fair. That's
That's
the
what
other
we're
person's
taught
problem.
all of our lives, in
I'm
school.
all getting hot. I'm like taking off my sweater.
Oh, she's getting ready.
Let's
She's getting
go,
ready.
let's go.
Gloves are coming off.
Put her hair in a bun and everything.
Well,
Take
no,
her earrings
because
off.
it's like a huge... It's going to have to be like a cultural shift, really, because these things have been so ingrained in society. I mean, as far as I've been alive, I can only imagine. But everything having to do with violence against women, everything having to do, it's always about how we have to protect ourselves. It's always about be careful what you wear, be careful,
And victim blaming, though.
Yeah,
victim
blaming,
as well.
exactly.
You know,
it's always about, I mean, as I got a little older, I had to start learning, be careful about making eye contact or smiling because that's an invitation.
you're inviting them, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or
you're wearing this skirt, so it was easy access.
Or you went to a party and, like, why did you go there if you weren't expecting to be raped? And it's not.
What?
You drank too much. You fell asleep. What did you think was going to happen?
It always comes back on the female, and none of it's like, hey, guys, don't
How about
rape.
you just don't do that?
Yeah, what got me was, and again, it was something
Hey, guys, don't rape.
Yeah.
Can you not?
What got me is, and it's something that I never really thought about until we were having this conversation. It's like whenever you hear the story about either someone, a female was sexually assaulted or was literally raped, not one tried to, whatever the case may be, sexual assault, right?
Yeah.
And you always hear the same thing, and it never dawned on me. Like I didn't see anything wrong with it, but
Yeah.
it was like, well, what were you wearing?
Yep.
A lot of it is,
Well, why were you there? Well, it's like,
right.
why was he trying
Wait.
to rape somebody? Like, why
Who's
isn't that
asking that
asked?
question though?
Society in general.
Oh, it happens all the
Cops.
time.
Because see, I don't know anybody who's ever been raped. I really don't. Okay, so let me start with that. But
Well, you probably do, but they don't say it because
Yeah.
they're not believed often. It
That's-
happens so
that's-
They're
much.
not believed,
I've
or they
seen
don't
it
want to
so
talk
many times
about
in
it,
that's
high
very
school.
true. That's very true.
You were laying in bed with him. You were on a date. I mean, what did you expect? You have to change the vernacular that's around it.
Right.
Because even things like sex with a minor, like that's not sex, that's rape. Just
Right.
change the phrase.
That's, that's true.
So
That's
yeah,
very
if I can
true.
just interject here, like people
Find that
saying they
meme.
don't.
Yeah, find that.
I found 1 in 3 women overall have experienced violence, and 1 in 5 have experienced rape.
When was the first time that you felt sexually assaulted? Not felt, were.
When I was sexually assaulted. I mean,
what age?
Oh man, I hope my family doesn't listen. 15.
And that was a sexual assault. Was there anything when you were younger that you can even think of that has happened? Because I remember being on the bus in Belton, and this guy reaches his hand out and he grabs me. Underneath.
God.
Like that. So we're not talking.
Oh yeah, you
Michelle,
that's
how
what I'm
sad is
talking
that?
about. Yeah,
how
because
sad
you're
is
just
that?
you
I'm just
brush
like,
it
oh,
off.
whatever. He just
And I
that's
remember
where
he
we're
stuck
at.
his hands out and he lifted his finger underneath,
What?
and I was in 6th grade.
Yeah.
And I remember exactly who it was,
Hey,
and I
real
was
quick,
just
real
like,
quick. Let me interrupt you real quick.
I'll be careful
I
with
want
this. Should I be careful?
I just
Because I'm
wanted
kinda
to
like, I
give
want
a
to.
quick disclaimer. I was going to do this at the beginning.
yeah.
Trigger warning.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I don't. We're going to be careful with our language, but at the same time, I want to put it out there. Be aware. We're talking about sensitive material, and I'm not going to put up the walls as far as like language that comes out. We're going to try not to cuss too much or anything, but if one comes out, I just want y'all to be aware. This is what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I want this to be very uncensored. I want this
Good.
to be very just real.
Thank you.
Because here's the thing. You got 2 guys here,
Yep.
right? And you got 2 women here. We're going to probably say some things that, I'll be honest, may piss you
Upset
off.
'em.
Yeah, because we don't know.
But I want to have a real discussion,
That's what I'm
though.
saying.
Like, I don't
Right.
want it to be like, oh, how dare! Like,
Right, exactly.
if you suppress, then no real conversation
And
can
I don't want,
happen.
and when I'm being as descriptive as I was for people that are listening, part of it could be offensive, but the other part of it is like, yeah, you offense. Do you feel offense? Are you grossed out? Does it make your skin
Yes.
crawl?
It
Well, imagine
should.
being 12
It needs to be
or
said.
11, however
real
old
quickly,
I was.
real quickly, to also add to that disclaimer, if you are a minor child and you are really a young minor child,
Yeah.
I encourage you to step out the room and leave your parents to hear, because this is something that maybe
no,
adults-
honestly, no.
listen,
They have to
women.
know.
adults-
This creates
It
conversation.
creates conversation, but a minor child shouldn't be listening to us describe what we've gone through in our personal life,
Why is that?
because we're not the person who in charge of saying, okay, son, daughter, you
Well,
can
then
listen
it's up
to
to
this.
the parents to
And
decide.
that's why I
whether-
said
I think
they
it,
can make
I
that
think it
decision
needs. I think
separate.
it needs to be
No,
parents'
I mean,
discretion.
you'd be
That's
surprised.
specific.
I've had
There we go.
conversations. I've had a conversation with my children about things like this.
I don't have conversations like this with my kids.
Well, how
I
old
just
are-
had a conversation with my girlfriend the other day about a conversation about this, because
But that's why he was asking me.
Right.
As a mom, I did.
Yeah,
and I
because
especially had
from a young
conversations
age-
with my son about how to respect women.
okay, so
and
real quickly,
not
a
don't be that guy.
conversation is allowing people to speak, not interjecting directly. So please.
No, go ahead.
I was saying something. So we were having a conversation, me and my girlfriend, about a woman's private part. It's actually Sunday, actually. So she calls it a butterfly, right? So our women's, I guess that's a universal term.
No, it's not.
But she called it
the universal
butterfly.
term is vagina.
Well that's the technical term.
Let him finish.
But anywho, for a minor child who's like 6 years old, 5 years old, it's a butterfly. Now,
hold on.
So that being said, so she was teaching, and she asked me, "Have you ever told your 13-year-old about this, about men touching this and that?" I was like, "Man, I'll be honest with you, I never have." And the reason why I never have is because I'm heavily involved in her life. Now, later on this summer, I'm not going to be as heavily involved anymore.
Right.
So she's like, "Well, I think you need to educate your daughter more."
Right.
And I was just like, "Can you help me?" Because in essence, she's 13. She should know this. My fault. I didn't teach it to her.
Right.
But I need help. You know what I'm saying?
So if I may interject before you do, because this is another guy, and I'm gonna tell you right now.
Okay.
No, not. I don't mean it like that. I don't mean it like that.
I know. I'm giving you a hard time.
Yeah. This is where I'm gonna disagree with you.
I don't know.
Okay. I think. I don't keep it around. This is coming from someone that's not a father. Okay. But I think as a father, you should tell your kids, "This is my vagina. This is my penis," because if the thing is that the problem right now is that people think that that's a naughty word.
It's not a naughty word.
But with kids, I'm talking about with kids.
I really need to interject because part of me also, the reason you had me on here is because I'm like this. First of all, why is it that you get to go first versus me when I was the one that had something to respond to it in the first place? It might just be because it's your podcast, but that's just even little things like that. Like, well, I want to say something because I'm a guy and this is my opinion. I was like, whoa. How about I go ahead and give you mine because I wanted to tell you about it. And when you said, well, this is the universal term, I was like, it's not the universal term. You need to normalize the names of your anatomy. Nudity isn't something that should be like, oh my God. And that's what also the curiosity and not knowing what, the opposite sex is like, just not normalizing it is what is creating. It creates a lot of tension and curiosity and kids to go, instead of talking to their parents, they're going to go to the internet. And what do? You find very not real life situations. Even if we're going to I'm throwing it out there. If you're going to talk about porn, they're going to go look at that and they're like, oh, that's how women like it. That's how women want to be. And a lot of that is very abusive to the women. So that's why guys think that women like this. I mean, they might, and it's not that it's wrong, but sex and all of these things, especially growing up in either a super Christian household or just a household where we just don't talk about things, that's going to create insecurity. And I know that I personally had a lot of insecurity. I couldn't talk about it with my family. I couldn't talk about anything. And, you go to your friends and then you hear all of the wrong things. Just something, like I was saying, as simple as that guy trying to touch me on the bus, like it was no big deal. I didn't tell anyone. I just remember being shocked and I sat down and I didn't like the way it felt. I was scared and I was, I was like, who saw it? And I was embarrassed, like it would have been my fault. And it wasn't. And so from an early age, Elijah knew what it was called, a penis and a vagina. You don't need to give it a cute little nickname. You can, but it's...
As long as they know. And, yes, you can tell them, hey, don't go around school, screaming, vagina, but as... But nicknames are fine, but they have to understand what the anatomy is.
And they need to understand that it is private. It is theirs.
Yeah,
it is not for somebody else to touch.
Yeah.
This is your body. This is your space. This is not for anybody else to touch. And that goes for both males and females.
Yes.
And that is a conversation that I've had with my nieces. And before I had a daughter, because when Caitlin came into my life, she was 6. Mm-hmm. And I know her mother had already had those conversations. So I think some of the reasons why I didn't have a lot of the conversation with Caitlin at first was because she has a mom, and her mom, they're very close.
Right.
And that's also a conversation that I wanted to make sure that, her mother deserves that rite of passage, I guess, before I did. Does that make sense?
Yes.
But there's lots of other conversations that I've had with Caitlin just about like respect and boundaries, and not even about sexuality. Because I remember back to the sports bra thing, I apologized to Caitlin. It was like the next day, and I was saying that I was so mad at myself for telling her, because she's like, I'm hot. I was like, no, you just want to show your body and blah, blah, blah. I was like, and I thought to myself, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm such a hypocrite. Mm-hmm. I remember belly shirts when I was in high school, and not being allowed to wear spaghetti strap shirts.
Oh yeah.
Because the boys, spaghetti strap
It's
shirt.
Distracting to the boys.
It's like, how about you don't be distracted?
Right.
And so I remember apologizing to her. I was like, you know what? that was sexist of me, and it's not your problem if a guy is attracted to you and can't, whatever, he needs to keep his hands to himself and his comments to himself. And you're allowed to have, I'm not saying explore your sexuality, but it's okay for a woman to be comfortable with her body without being slut shamed.
Yes.
Right.
The word slut shouldn't even be a thing.
Right.
And it's like, but we've grown up in a different
it's like
situation.
That's naughty.
Sure.
You don't do that. You know, that's something that's dirty. And, again, being candid, that women are not supposed to enjoy sex or enjoy, want to be desirable.
And if they do, they're loose or they're whatever. And then I wanted to touch back on what you're saying though about, making big changes. I really do think woke, right? Wait, I'm not even allowed to say that word. Okay, I'm too old. I'm 39. So the conversations are changing though. And I do think that, my children, that generation, those 19-year-olds, they've been having a lot of conversations like this, and they're making a lot of changes, and it's making people very uncomfortable, which is good.
Right.
But they're getting made fun of. Oh, you snowflake, back in my day, blah, blah, blah. And look how I turned out. I was like, yeah, you're a passive aggressive a-hole. I see how you turned out. So we're definitely going to change this.
Right.
When they talk about like, well, we didn't do this or we didn't do that. I was like, yeah. And now look at you. Look at the way you treat women. Look at how your wife cowers down before you. Or like, look at how you've been divorced 4 times, because you're not a good person. So be quiet, and it's like, women we're getting older and we're being more comfortable in ourselves. And we're like, oh, we're making changes, but we should be this way in the first place. We shouldn't have, I shouldn't have to be almost 40 years old before I'm comfortable in my own skin.
I was having this conversation with a really close friend of mine, my coworker actually. And I had made the comment, I was just like, men take for granted the fact that they can just exist. You can go about your business, do what you're going to do, and not think about it. Whereas with us, a lot of times, like, we have to fit around that. We have to
fit in
watch
a man's world.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I know, and that's the problem too. I know a lot of, they're just being snowflakes. Oh, they're exaggerating. No.
Oh, you're just being a woman. Oh, you cute thing.
You're being a B word. You're being shrill. You're nagging.
For instance, girl, you play the bass, right?
Yeah.
Man, you play the bass really awesome for a girl.
Yeah.
Man,
how does it feel being a bass player? How does it feel being a woman bass player? How does it feel like being a woman musician?
You're really good, and for a girl. And then, me, I have more power tools than Daniel, and being questioned when I'm doing the build out for our business and doing all the paperwork and getting the finances in order and doing all the things. Daniel helped me pick out equipment, and he was going to school at the time, and I was in charge of all the construction.
Right.
I taught sculpture. I taught people how to use power tools and not cut their fingers off.
Right.
And I mean, in that situation in the art world, I was already treated with respect because I'd already had to prove myself, and my professor's like, yeah, Michelle's awesome. She's in here, listen to her. She knows what she's talking about.
Right.
But then you put me in another situation where I'm a business owner, and it's like, oh my gosh, I literally had this conversation today with one of my employees about putting on our business voice, our business personality, where your voice is a little bit higher and you're like, I don't know. I mean, I honestly think that we should do it like this, putting drywall in the bathrooms all the way to the floor instead of using plywood for stalls and like leaving space so that the water will drain if the toilets, overflow. Right. And he's like, no, this is how we do it. I was like, yeah, well, it's not handicap accessible. I was like, well, it'll be fine. I was like, well, maybe we should do it like this, or maybe we should do this with the sink, and then
diplomatic. Yeah.
Yeah. Make a man feel better so that he can do what needed to happen. And it sucks because I knew what needed to happen, and what happened, it didn't pass code, and they had to change it. And what did they do? They did exactly what I had told them to do in the first place.
Right.
I was there doing a walkthrough, and a sink was, I said, that needs to be braced. It's going to fall. He's like, no, it's fine. It's supposed to be like this. He's literally shaking it, and then it falls to the ground. And I just threw my hands in the air, and I was like, I can't with this right now. And it's like, but the fact that if I complain about it, or if we say something about it, or if I exert my authority, because I was in charge, I was the one writing the checks.
Right.
And if I don't know something, I don't know it, and I will ask you. We have amazing electricians. I don't know anything about it, and they're like, Michelle, this is what we're doing, blah blah blah. Completely respectable. Put an electric, they're awesome. And but like, I just hated knowing that they didn't take me seriously until Daniel came around and he like bowed up in front of him and like, okay, yeah, you're right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. He's like, you need to listen to my wife and do what she says, and it sucks that I had to have a man with me in order to be listened to.
You know, it's funny you say that because I used to work in the automotive industry and oh my God, you guys will have a field day with that.
Oh, I'm already ready.
I've experienced it.
Just because, you know what I'm saying? Just because, I hate to say it this way, just because what I've experienced and what I've seen.
Say it.
People sit there and the woman walks in, and every service advisor is going to say, ooh, I got this one coming in. I got it. And because they know when they walk in, and quote unquote, this is not correct. I know it's not correct.
Don't apologize.
They just don't think that the woman's going to understand what they need. They're just gonna come and say, "Here's a bank checkbook, fix my car."
Right.
And that's what that's what they all expect them to say. And I ain't gonna lie to you. Lately, well, my last few years at the dealership, women were coming in saying, "I need to get my alternator checked," and this, that, and the other. And then when they say, "Okay, we found this, that, and the other," no, you're gonna replace my alternator, do my oil change, and minor services. That's it. And like, well, if what this is going to happen is no, it's not going to happen because I understand what's going on. And
and they've probably experienced that the hard way, which is why they know to say that.
Exactly.
Like that's what happened to me.
It's true. It happens a lot,
and it's embarrassing.
And I would
it's humiliating.
I worked in parts, so I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I try to be as level playing field as it can be.
And it's not like these are new topics, and I do know that there are shady mechanics that will take advantage of men. And it's not just because we're a female for these things, but the double standard is that Michelle doesn't know what she's talking about when it comes to building things, even though she builds things, and Melissa, like you were saying that it is a man's world. I had a discussion with Elijah. I mean, that's why they're, be like, well, why are we having, women's and, not International Women's Day? Or why is it such a big deal if it's a female-owned business? Why is that a big deal? I was like, because, Elijah, the male is the standard. So I remember there was International Women's Day, and I was in the kitchen, and go ahead and say it, like where I belong. Sorry, bad joke in my head. Okay, so I remember being in the kitchen. Daniel's at the table.
Barefoot?
Yeah, I'm pregnant. I probably was. I probably was pregnant.
With the hair in the
bun. Making a sandwich. So when I was Elijah, I posted to the International Women's Day, and I was telling you, I was like, hey, we need to make a post on Instagram for the gym, blah blah blah. And Elijah's like, why isn't there, International Men's Day? And I was like, because
that's every day.
Yes. I mean, well, but I mean, if it was an honest question because he's I'm glad that he asked.
He's young,
And I said because every day is, it's a male dominated world. It's not even a male dominated world, but almost everything comes from the male perspective,
right?
And in Elijah's defense, and Daniel's like, shut your mouth, Elijah.
That was an honest question,
Well, he was arguing with me. Not arguing. Yeah, he was arguing because he's Elijah. He's my child, and we do that, and we have debates, and and I've always used the Socratic method with my children. When they, ask me something, I'm asking them questions back so that they can come up with their own answers.
Right.
And so they used to think that I was always debating with them. I was like, no, I'm helping you figure out the answer for yourself so that you know what you really think and believe.
Yeah.
But that's when I had realized that Elijah was so used to seeing things from my perspective because I was a single mom for so long, and being surrounded by strong, powerful, independent women that run their own businesses, that women are in charge. And that's the thing. You're like, oh, this woman's in charge. Like, man, she's strong. And it's like, yeah, but it shouldn't even be that. It should just be like, yeah, this one's in charge. Or this man's
is a
in
good
charge.
Leader.
Right, yeah, right. It shouldn't even have to be anything about her being a female.
Yeah.
But for some reason, it's like, oh, she's back to the automotive thing. Like, oh, man, this woman's got some balls on her that she knows how to bargain.
Yeah.
And it's like, how about
But it's true,
she knows what she's talking about and has nothing to do with the fact that she's female.
Yeah.
Because the fact that people say that means they're automatically comparing her to a man, period.
Right.
That means that the standard is the man, and this woman is doing something that is almost up to par with the man. That's crazy. And it shouldn't even be a thing. And that's what I was trying to talk to Elijah about. So.
Yeah, no.
I digress.
No, you don't. I mean, that's right on point. I mean, that's how things are, whether we realize it or not. The women get compared to the standard,
And the standard is male.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like you said, everything is from the male perspective. That's why you see commercial ads where the women are scantily clad when they're trying to advertise for whatever, cars, beer, whatever it is, sex sells, right? And it's always from the male perspective, right? I mean, granted, I know we have lesbians and things out there, but if you think about it, it's
Where
really
did that come from?
well, because
but I was like, wait a minute.
no, because when you look at like a commercial, like let's say like a beer commercial.
A male and a female. Yeah. I mean, granted, there are things. I mean, of course, like I'm like irritated just thinking about Daniel's comments right now. There's that bus. So whenever he's like made some comments like, well, what about, like us? Like they always make the men look stupid in videos and blah, 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 And I'm like, but, just even trying to explain male white privilege to him or to my son, he's a quarter Pinot, quarter Filipino.
I was like, what?
but he looks very white, and it's he understands and he sees it because he's seen me be treated stupid because I'm female or because I'm brown. Mm-hmm. I've watched. I mean, that's
Isn't it technically yellow?
Wow, dude.
You just lost some ratings, man. Hey guys, my name is Michelle Hagerty with Michi's World of Chaos. Subscribe to my podcast.
She said a joke earlier. I can't say a joke.
I didn't make a joke earlier. I don't know what you're talking about.
Anyway, go ahead.
Right around like the Asian hate hashtag. Really, dude?
Oh, I know, right?
Oh, I forgot about that.
But that's a whole other podcast. Is the fact that everybody thinks that I'm Mexican and I'm brown because of where we are, and I saw my mom being treated differently because she's an Asian American.
Right.
And it took me. So we've got some double whammies, Melissa and I. We're not just women, but we're women of color.
Yeah,
and that's a whole other thing.
Yeah, that's a whole.
We can have like podcasts on each of those things. It's just. It's endless.
It is, yeah. Thanks for inviting me, Rob.
These things, they need to be talked about.
They do. They do. And we talk about them often.
Yeah.
And I talk about them all the time, but they need to be talked about openly.
Yes.
Right.
And things should be able to get uncomfortable, and people need to be able to listen to that.
Right.
And also, I find that it's important for me not to get, now that I'm almost 40, I get a lot less offended when somebody says something, that could be offensive. But what makes me angry and offensive, and even what makes me angry is when I try to explain it to somebody, like, you do realize that what you just said is very offensive. And like, oh, okay. So when they resist,
right.
Yes.
When they resist or ignore, I don't know, like when you're pointing it out and they're like, no.
They belittle.
And they for that, and you're like, oh, people just need to calm down and blah, blah, blah.
Give me an example about what you're talking about. What have you said in this topic that we're talking about that has been offensive, that somebody has said, that's really offensive what you just said? Like, what's a good example
I can't
of
even.
that?
You want me to throw someone on the bus?
You mean
no, I don't want you to name names or anything.
You mean
I literally did do that, though, with Daniel. Like he posted something and I said, this is... No, and I did. And I said, this is actually offensive. Because I shouldn't... I guess it's sometimes it's hard to pick things out because it does happen so often.
Yeah.
But like, he's like, well, how's it offensive? But this wasn't offensive towards women. It was offensive towards women, but then it also had some hate sprinkled into it. And I think that's the thing. People think they're like, oh, well, it's funny. It's like, but you don't understand all of the layers of hate that are behind this meme, behind this GIF. So you have this woman and you're comparing her to Hitler and you think it's funny, but think about all of the people that, were persecuted just for being Jewish that are all behind that, and so, and I'm not saying
person you don't agree with, 6 million dead, Holocaust.
Yes. And it's like, but it's also, oh God, of course I can't think of her name right now because I'm having a brain fart. Well, never mind. I can't even think of her name.
It really doesn't matter.
But it doesn't matter who it is. She's in the political world and I can't think, and I'm mad. I'm gonna have to text you about it later.
Right.
But it's because she's very well spoken and she's a woman of color and she's out there and she's saying things that people don't like. And they're like, well, things were fine until Bob was like, they were fine for you.
Yes.
They were fine for you. They weren't fine for me. It's amazing having a woman of color, in the White House, and they're like, oh, well, it's not. I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, it really is somebody that looks like us. It's somebody that speaks for us. And I'm not saying that a man couldn't speak for us, but there is a difference between empathizing and truly understanding and sympathizing.
Yeah.
And So, I mean, I don't know if I can give you an example, but there are times where I've tried to bring it up. I mean, I will give Daniel some credit. We have had lots and lots of conversations where we will go back and forth, and I'll explain, where I'm coming from. That's why he told Elijah that day in the kitchen, he's like, watch your mouth, boy. He's like, you about to get it. But like, even in that is joking, like, oh, your mom's about to get on that kitchen stool and look you in the eye and yell at you, and it's like, but there's truth to all of it. And it's like, sometimes I have to make a joke about it to be heard. I'm like, oh, laugh it off. And it's like, and I shouldn't have to do that.
Right. And I think it's good that you were talking about making you feel uncomfortable, right? And I'm starting to see that that actually is a good thing. I was just telling Melissa this the other day that I had really been, when I say I was thinking about this all week, I'm not kidding you. I was seriously thinking about this topic all week long.
So what was it that bothered you about it?
The ignorance of it that I had, right? To think that, oh, everything's fine in this world. But then to finally realize that my wife is dealing with some real shit. Oops, stuff.
Oh, you're the
It was raw today.
I'm marking it down. That's two.
Michelle wins.
To find out that my wife is really dealing with some real stuff on the daily.
But it's so ingrained in us, we don't even think about it.
Yeah.
I get that. And that's the thing,
and
though.
that's what sucks.
And that's what's up. I mean, it's like that's how it be.
But that's the thing, though. For me, and see, this can go back to what you were saying earlier, which is something I do want to touch on. So just let me speak this, and then after the break, I want to get into it. Right?
Like Michelle didn't interrupt.
God, I don't even know what to say to that now.
We all have our chance. We can all say something. But
I do interrupt a lot.
I know, but this is
not just because I'm a woman.
This is what I mean. So as her husband, okay, this is what I mean. When I heard that, right away I thought, crap, my wife goes through this on the daily, and right away I want to protect her because she's my wife, right? And then realizing that that's not a reality.
Well, that's not a solution.
Right.
That women should be protected because they're vulnerable. The solution should be men should not make women have to protect themselves or be vulnerable. Men should check themselves.
Right. But again, going back to what I was saying, this is just my thought at the time.
My mic.
This is my thought at the time, because she's my wife. I love her, and I'll be real. When I say that, it's not about man or woman at this point for me. It's about that's my wife, and I want to protect her because I love her, And then to hear that this is something that she had to deal with, not just her, my mom. My mom has to deal with this. My sister.
Moms, sisters, nieces,
you know what
daughters.
I mean? Yeah. Exactly. And then I have a little niece right now. She's the cutest little thing you've ever seen. She's, I think, 3 now. And then to realize that she's going to have to grow up in this and be told these same things that you guys, you know what I mean? It really kind of got me. And so that's why it really shook me up this week. And it just got me to thinking about all these things. I know we got to go to a break, but just to kind of prep for what I want to talk about in this next segment, you mentioned earlier when you were talking and making your point, Michelle, about how, men see the protecting thing, the walking on one side of the road and things like that. I kind of want to touch on that.
Yeah, protecting and then also ownership. We had that discussion before the podcast. That's a whole other subject, but true.
So I want to touch on that when we come back from break.
I also have notes.
Cool, because I think this is going to be a really good discussion that will probably turn into a debate, honestly.
That's fine.
But I think it's a good discussion, like Melissa was just saying earlier. It's good to talk about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is good to talk about. So we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back with more on this topic. So we'll be right back. Starting a business can be very challenging. Man, starting anything can be challenging, even a podcast. When we started our podcast, we had a lot of hurdles we had to go through. But I tell you what, Will and I are so thankful to have an awesome team of people helping us along the way. And one of those people, well, actually one of part of the team, is Blue Orchid Design Company. They helped us out with an awesome logo, and you guys have seen it every week when you listen to our podcast. They do web design, graphic design, esports logos, business logo creation, product mock-ups, and business consultation. You got to contact them today. For more information, go to goorchid.com. You can also find them on Facebook at facebook.com/Blue Orchid Design Company. This is the team that Big Will and Rob T trust. Give them a call today. Are you looking for your own custom shirt design? Maybe you have an idea for an awesome cap that no one else has, and maybe you think you just don't have enough money to get it to happen. Well, look no further. Call CJ Design. That's right, we're talking custom shirts, caps, stickers, and decals. High quality at the low price guarantee. Maybe you have a youth group, church function, family reunions, work events. Doesn't matter. Call CJ Design for your own specific high quality design merchandise. Call or text at 737-202-8331. That's 737-202-8331. CJ Design, and make sure you ask for Juan. And we're back with a very, very, very relevant, interesting, quite honestly, life-changing conversation that we're having right now, at least for me. And we were of course, we couldn't shut up. We were still talking about it during the break. Because it's this is just sparking a lot of conversation, which is great. We should talk about this, Before I get to what I wanted to talk about, Michelle, please, you said that there were some more points you wanted to make about what we were talking, since that's still fresh in our mind.
Yeah,
let's hit it.
Well, I'm trying to remember exactly what my notes were. For one of them was about using the word just and apologizing.
Okay.
Also apologizing for interrupting. I mean, I do that a lot. I do interrupt a lot. It is true.
Yes.
But I think, and I know one of the reasons I interrupt a lot was because being talked over so much growing up.
Okay.
And not only am I a female, but I'm little. I'm 5'2", and like, oh, she's so cute, trying to speak up. And when I say something, it's like, so when I get passionate about something, calm down. Like, calm down is the phrase that women hate.
Oh.
And it's like, and it's not because I am calm, but then that phrase ticked me off,
Right.
and it's like
belittling your emotions.
Right. And, or not even emotions.
Or your opinion.
Or the fact that I am loud, or the fact that I do say something, it gets written off as emotional when I am a very logical, rational person. And,
Right.
we do talk and I get passionate about things, but it doesn't mean I'm coming from an emotional standpoint. I mean, I have a degree in philosophy. I have a degree in logic and overthinking and listening to both sides. And
There's a degree in overthinking?
Absolutely. And I got
Wow.
one. That's right. I needed it. I call it that, and it's also, and that's another thing, we downplay our successes because a philosophy degree is a big deal,
Right.
I mean, I want to get another one. I want to get my master's, but it's, we downplay some of our things. We're not used to taking compliments. Like we get compliments and then we're like, oh, no. And it's like, we're always, downplaying
you don't want to be too
things.
proud. You
Right,
don't want to,
exactly. Yeah. But the interrupting thing, I'm sure it stems from not being listened to or being talked over. So what I was talking to Melissa about a second ago is using the word just. I read an article about women using it more than men, especially in writing. When you're writing an email, like, oh, I just wanted to say that I really would like for blah, blah, blah. And I just want, if you don't mind, we just da-da-da-da, just this and that.
I do that a lot.
You do, right. And now that you're aware, take it out and your email is stronger.
I actually had to go through my email one time because I think I put it like 3 times within like a couple of sentences. I just wanted to check out and I just wanted to see.
And
if you could just, get back to me.
And then take it out. Please get back to
Yeah.
me. Are you doing your job? I just want to check that you're doing this. You're the boss. Like, make sure you're doing your job. And it's like almost apologizing before we say something to soften it so somebody doesn't get offended that we're being bitchy.
Right.
And does that make sense?
No, yeah,
and also, does that make sense? I say that all the time too. But I mean, it's probably not something. I mean, is it something that you've ever thought about just saying, well, I just want to blah blah blah. I just
Never.
Right. And so that article made a huge difference in my life. And just okay, blah blah blah. I just said it. But taking it out didn't make me sound angry, but it just was more clarified,
assertive.
Yeah,
assertive. Yeah,
and not even
that's a great
assertive.
way,
Just saying what I'm thinking without having to apologize for it. So that's something that women do, and we find ourselves being apologetic just for saying what we're thinking or feeling or
For existing.
telling somebody that what they're doing is incorrect or doing our job,
Right.
actually,
Right.
So that was just one thing that I wanted to bring up that, you hadn't thought about before. And then,
I never thought about the just thing. But I do that a lot.
And I wrote down in my notes, little girl, already sexualized. And so somebody said something about, my niece or my daughter is this age, and one day she's going to be.
Yeah, I said that about my niece.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
She already has been sexualized. So think of it this
Really?
way. At a little age, like, oh, look at her little booty. She's so sexy. Look at the way she's walking.
Oh, damn.
Oh, wow.
You know what I'm talking about, right? And
Yeah.
it happens all the time. It happened to me when I was little. Like, oh my God, look at Michelle. She shakes her butt. She walks like her Aunt Mary. Look, she's shaking her little booty, And I was insecure about my butt my entire life until Beyonce made him famous, and it's like...
And J-Lo before
And J-Lo.
her.
I was just about to say J-Lo. I was just about to say J-Lo. And I always had a big butt. And when I'm walking, I'm not shaking my butt. It's my butt.
It's
Yeah.
just walking.
It just moves. But I was little, and I remember, we were running. We were in North Carolina, and all the kids were like running to a fence and back. And I remember hearing those comments. So instead of running, I just started walking because I didn't want it to move so much, and I didn't want anybody to look at me.
Right.
And I was little.
Wow.
But it's not something that I think of being sexualized because I know that the people that were saying, like my mom,
She didn't mean it that way.
right?
Yeah.
But it is. It's your body.
Yeah. And so that's the things that we need to change. Like, look, she's so sexy. Nobody says that about a little boy.
Yeah.
I mean, he's
Yeah.
so sexy. Look at him out there in the baseball
Or
field.
like when they start dancing, oh yeah, pop it. Yeah.
Right. And so I don't know.
Yes.
That was the thing that I wanted to say. Is that she already has been.
Wow, that's just
Because you just
crazy.
But it's such the norm, but these are the comments that I know that if I make around certain people, they're like, oh, snowflakes, blah 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 blah. And it's like, think about your daughter.
Yeah.
And that's when I get really angry is when I hear somebody and then they make an excuse as to why they say, oh, it's just funny. It's like, it's not funny.
Yeah.
It's not funny to me, and it's not funny to your daughter.
Yeah.
So.
Wow, that's definitely something to think about. So, here's what I want to talk. You brought it up in the first segment when you were talking about your son Elijah. You were having conversations with him. So, as a kid, I grew up. My male role models really were my grandfather and my uncles. My father wasn't really there. My stepfather was there. Not a very good relationship, but he did teach me some things and stuff. But I remember growing up, my grandfather always instilling in me how to treat women. Okay, and he would always tell me, you hold the door open for a woman, right? When she's getting out of the car, you open the door for her. Whenever you're walking down the street with a woman, you make sure that you're on the side where the cars are going, right? Because God forbid if a car jumped her, but at least it's going to get you. It's not going to get her. And it was always about protecting chivalry. Exactly. And so these were the things I was brought up with, right? And so that's still instilled in me to this day. I was just telling her this past weekend, telling my wife that my grandfather always used to tell me, you be nice to women, you be kind to them. If you see a girl, because I was a kid, right? You see a girl, you tell her if she looks pretty, you tell her she looks pretty. Oh, you look really pretty today, and stuff. So these were all things that were instilled in me, and the reason I was talking about that with Melissa this weekend is because I can't do that now. I went to pick up coffee one time before work at Starbucks, and the barista's eyes were very striking. She had green eyes, and they were just striking, and I noticed it, and so I said, "You have really pretty eyes," and she's like, "Whatever, creep, just take your coffee and go."
Dang.
And I remember exactly. I remember being very, very, very offended by that, and being like, "What the hell? I just complimented your eyes," and being upset, right?
Right.
And then it wasn't until
you didn't say anything back though, did you?
No. And it wasn't. I just left. And it wasn't until thinking about this meme and everything else that I started thinking about. I can't be mad at her.
Yeah.
Because that's.
I mean, it's not necessarily nice for her to come back like that, but you have to also understand where she's coming
from. And that's
she might have
could
had
have also
something
just
bad
not said something. You know. Yeah.
And that's my point. Is like, well, that's how unfortunately how this world is, but. So going back to what I was saying before, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. So in my point of view, Michelle, being brought up that way, being taught that way, you open the door for a woman and walking on the side of the street and this and that, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And the reason why I don't think anything wrong with that is because, not just because I was brought up that way, but in my belief, right? I believe in God and all that other stuff. God created man and women. Now, this is not a very popular thing to say, but the truth of the matter is that God made men and women different.
Correct. I completely agree.
Yeah, but there's some people.
I mean, it's true, but yeah.
there's some people that won't. That's why I'm saying that. So
I mean, I'm a Christian as well. But I'm also a feminist, you know, and you would think like, oh, how do those exist?
So,
there's a difference between different and equal.
Right. So we
are different and equal. Not different, but different and equal.
So in my opinion, like using the example of me and Melissa, right? In my opinion, she completes me because, you know, there's some parts of me that she kind of fills, if you know what I mean. So like, that's why God put us together, right? Because she completes me, and I feel there are things that I have where I complete her, right? So that's why I believe God created us the way He did. Okay, so I'm a firm believer in that, and that's something that I try to do every day. I show women respect as much. At least I think I do. You know what I mean?
I do have a comment if you're ready.
Yeah, no, I know. That's why I was saying what I was saying. At least I think I do, right? From how I was brought, my morals, my beliefs, or whatever. I try to treat women with respect every day. I try to show my wife respect every day. But see, even after this week, thinking about this thing, I even asked her too. I was like, I'm sorry if I've made you feel like an object, because like, I got mad at myself because I'm just being real here. When we go to bed at night and I see my wife with no clothes on, boom, that thought comes up right away. And
I think that's also just human nature.
Right.
Yeah.
But you see what I'm saying going on with this way of thinking. I'm like, dude, should I even be thinking that? Like is that making her feel?
I mean, if you take into consideration her thoughts and feelings and emotions, I mean, it's not about like, oh my God, am I allowed to? I mean, you know your wife. You listen to your wife. So that's a whole different subject.
You can feel feelings, you know. I mean, we were talking about this earlier. You know, women are going to be attracted, you know, or like people are going to be attracted to each other. You know, I mean, we can find each other attractive. It's how you act or don't act on that makes the difference.
Or respecting people's boundaries and crossing those boundaries.
Right.
You know, respecting the person instead of, you know, crossing a line. And exactly.
Question. So on what Rob's talking about right now, let's just say it's okay. Okay.
Well, again, what about my question that I had a second ago?
Yes.
What was that?
Exactly. We're going to go back to the interrupting thing, right? Okay. Sorry. No, go ahead. You can. Nope. I'm going to say it. Okay.
Go ahead.
Because I was going to answer what he was going to say. Okay.
Oh, that's right. You said you had a comment.
I did have a comment, but right. Okay.
Go ahead.
So when you were saying, okay, I put in here, I have to be nice to women because, okay, you have to be nice to women. You're raised this way.
Yes.
And you kept saying, I'm this way to women and this way to women. Yes. And I said, because why? Because women aren't normally, or, I mean, were you raised to be taught to respect a man? No, because it's just natural, right? Like you just automatically like, oh, respect, you know, like that's what it is. There's already an automatic respect for men.
Yeah, see, with my grandfather, the way he said it is because women were special. Okay. And you have to treat I remember his words to this day.
But look back at why are we special, you know? And you look back like, okay, women are special because they're gentle, they're weaker. Is it one of those things, or why are they more special? I mean, I think I understand where you're coming from, or your grandfather.
Yeah.
You know, but the thing that was coming into my mind was, well, why is it that you have to be taught so much to respect women? And it might be because people don't treat women with respect, and your grandfather was teaching you, like, look, they're the underdog. They don't get treated well, and you need to make sure that you're treating them with respect, just like you already do to men, without me having to tell you to be respectful to men, period. That was the thought that came to my mind in response to that. Right. Does that make sense?
I think, like, to me, that kind of older school mentality is like women are delicate little flowers. Right. You know, like they need to be taken care of. Okay. They need to be nurtured. And that's kind of like a really fine line, just because, I mean, I can respect chivalry, you know.
I love it. I love it when somebody opens a door for me.
Respect, you know, but not, oh, no, I got to take care of the little girl, you know, like, oh, no, she needs me. Like, oh, I need to protect,
and then that goes back to the reason why is because, you know, your grandfather's teaching you that because they're delicate little flowers and people don't treat them with respect. You have to make sure you respect this delicate little flower, but nobody has to tell you to do that to a man because he's not like that. Because women are different, and because they're not equal, you have to make sure that they feel special. You know what I mean? Like, that's where that stems from. Like, I'm not saying it does, but let it sink in. Think about it tonight. Like, is that why? I'm not saying this is why, but those are the things that come up into my mind. You're like, well, okay, well, why is that? Why is this? Right. I mean, the thing about chivalry, I mean, if you want to go back to where chivalry comes from and the whole courtship thing, I mean, that is a very sexist thing in the first place. But over time, it has grown into something else. Like, well, we're chivalrous because we're opening a door. Why is that wrong? Oh, she won't let me open the door for her. It's like, yeah, but if you go back to the root of where chivalry comes from,
right?
You know, like, whatever. Anyway, we'll get on that another day.
At that point, it's taking. It's getting to know the woman.
Yeah.
You know, because there is no blanket response. There's no certain way to treat every single woman. There just is not.
You treat them as a person and you get to know that person. And that's
there are some that are very, you know, that have that mentality, and that's great. There are some that are not okay with that, and that's okay too. You know, it's just a matter of getting to know the person, and if they do say that they're not okay with something, respecting that.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
I mean, and like I said before, you know, I mean, there's nothing wrong with desiring somebody. There's nothing wrong with shooting your shot, you know, like, you know, asking somebody out, you know, like, you know, making that move, but it's respecting the response. It's respecting the person, getting to know what their boundaries are, and
respecting the response. I like that. That's exactly it. Yeah.
Because something that, I mean, it kind of is going on to a different topic, but I feel like, you know, a lot, you know, the older generations were taught, if a woman says no, you know, if you ask a girl out and she says no, oh, you got to be persistent. You got to keep at it, you know, like, you know, you got to, you know, like, don't take no for an answer. And that's wrong. Yeah. You know, I mean, you have, you know, and that's just, I don't know. I don't even know where that came from, really. You know, just how, where did no means yes come from, except where in the really old, I mean, did in that the really... old school, you know, women weren't allowed to feel, you know, desire somebody. So it's like, oh, no, you know, but.
This is really, I mean,
like,
it's stewing in my brain.
Like,
I
honestly don't know.
No mean yes come from? Does that come from men just not listening to women, or women having to play coy, which is still because it's a male dominant thing and we're not allowed to have the sexual desire. So we have to pretend that we don't want it, but we really want it. Oh, yeah.
You know, women, if you want something, just say it. You know,
but we can now.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, we can now.
I'm glad that that's normalized. You know, like, it's okay to want something. You know, it's okay to desire. You know, but
it's not okay to cross those boundaries, and it's not okay to. Go ahead, Rob. You have a question? Oh, Will,
Will's
you have a question?
point. Will, what was your point earlier?
I forgot.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure we came back to you.
Kind of, not sorry.
Right. But I mean, but yeah, that's the thing.
Sorry.
Just, but that entitlement, that's what's the problem.
Well,
you know,
let me just say this,
bruh.
What you just said. No, I'm sorry, but let's address it right now. What you just said. Sorry, not sorry. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm kind of sorry because you know, you forgot what you were saying, but you know how many times we're like, oh, I forgot. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. Oh, damn it.
It's a tie.
Okay. I mean, I say that a lot. I apologize a lot, you know, but I also, I hate that people say that, oh, I'm squirrely, and I'm really not. Like I was saying, you know, my degree in philosophy, I have freaking, you know, 4.0.
Yeah.
That was a 3.9, but we rounded it up, right? So
you're not a dummy.
I'm not. And sometimes I acted, or sometimes I act Dingy, and I put on the Michelle show because it's more approachable, you know. And when I say I'm sorry, I am sorry that that you forgot your point and I interrupted. That was part of that. But the reason I say I'm not sorry is because it happens to me all the time.
But does it happen with me? See, that's what the concept I'm thinking of right now.
What do you mean? Did you get interrupted a lot?
I don't interrupt you. I'll let you talk.
So now you're taking it person to person.
Person to person now.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So in this table, in this setting, so I've yet to interrupt you. Maybe once or twice in the beginning.
Yeah.
But I've stopped and held back because I allow you to consider your conversation.
Yes.
So now I stayed back, and you guys continued, and then you continued to a different degree.
Yeah.
I forgot my question or my comment, and then your comment was sorry, not sorry. So back to the green eyes comment. So that's rude for her to say to him.
The green eyes. Right. Okay.
But it's also, to me, considering is now it's kind of rude to me for saying sorry, not sorry to you when I never did anything to you.
Okay. So the reason I'm taking notes on my phone is because I get interrupted a lot, and I want to make sure that I'm, you know, getting my point across. And the reason I put the note in my phone in the first place is because he was talking and I didn't want to interrupt him. And I was trying to talk, and he's like, well, let me finish. So I was like, okay. So technically I was next in line. So if we were in class and I raised my hand, and then the teacher's like, I'll get to you in a second. And then you raised your hand and the teacher asked you before getting to me, because I was asked I raised my hand first. It wouldn't be fair. And that's
Right.
why I'm saying sorry, not sorry. So it's not your fault that the teacher asked you, even though she forgot that I had my hand raised first. But that's what happened just now. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, but in the setting of we're in right now,
Yeah,
it's not that style of setting. So your analogy is kind of misconstrued because you're saying because the concept of conversation is I had a question, you interjected, I stopped and sat back.
Mm-hmm. No. I had my question before you did, is what I'm saying.
No, I allowed that to happen. My question was after your question.
Right.
And then you had finished saying your thing. And I stopped. You did your thing. I kind of stayed back. Then you was quiet for a second. I was going to ask my question, and you interrupted again. And I just kind of stood back. And I just stayed back. That's kind of what I do.
No. My response a second
I can play
ago.
back if you like.
We're gonna have to go back and listen to it. But I do apologize. I mean, I really, I do make a joke about saying sorry, not sorry, because I don't like the fact that you couldn't remember what you had to say. And it is true. Like I know that I do interrupt a lot, and we did talk about that earlier, and I know that I do, and I know where that stems from, and I am sorry for doing that, but I do know for sure that I was trying to respond to him, and then he asked me to not yet, and then you were going to start talking. I was like, well, what about what I was going to say a second ago?
I knew his not yet, and I waited for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I get what your point is. At this
Absolutely.
point, it's not about male and female. It's about Will and
It's about
just being
Michelle.
respectful. Yeah, correct.
Right.
Correct. Yeah.
So
No
my question to
conversation.
you, and I'm just going to say this from my perception standpoint, is like with this conversation being that you're talking with two guys, are you a little
On edge.
Yeah, I guess that would be the thing.
Not with you guys. I mean, because I do feel like you guys really do respect everything that I say, and I do respect everything y'all say. You know what I mean? So I know that's why that you bring me on here is because I know both of you do care with what I have to say.
Definitely.
We value your opinion.
And I think and I know that both of y'all listen, and I know that Rob and I for sure do not agree on a lot. I don't feel like you and I are in disagreement about really anything. I can't think of anything at this moment, but I do know for a fact that Rob and I disagree on a lot of things. Yeah, right. Yeah. And so
but we still love each other.
Yeah, I guess. No, but I do, and I mean, I wouldn't come back if I didn't. If I felt disrespected ever on this show, I wouldn't come back. I mean, there was one time that I was like, "Whoa, I was a little offended about something," and I told you, and you're like, "Oh man, we got to talk about this," So, I mean, yeah,
I'll be honest.
I do interrupt a lot.
You've opened up my eyes to a lot of. I never thought I was sexist because I didn't feel like I was sexist purposely, right?
Oh, you're talking about like that comment before?
Yeah.
And I didn't, and that's the problem though. I didn't think that you were being sexist. You just made a casual joke that is a normal joke that everybody makes.
Right.
We got to figure out that podcast number because then we get people to go back to that podcast. But like you made a joke about low sex drive.
I can tell you the exact podcast number.
What number was it?
Give me a second.
Okay. So it was the one where I had said something about having no sex
That was
drive.
the very first episode back in October.
But I don't remember what number it
You
was.
talked
though.
about your cancer.
Yeah, and because I had hysterectomy and no estrogen, that I don't have a sex drive.
Yeah.
And what did you say?
I don't remember.
You said poor Daniel.
Poor
Yeah,
Daniel,
that's
I'm
right.
sorry for
That's
that.
right. That's right.
Yeah, and I was like,
Oh no, her cancer is such an inconvenience.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing.
Yes.
I wasn't thinking about
Women's sexuality.
that. Yeah,
it's
I
not
wasn't
really
thinking about that.
important. Yeah.
Exactly, and that's what I'm saying. Like you said, it was a joke that anybody would probably make.
A lot of people make it.
Right, and I was
all
just
the time. Yeah.
I was just trying to be funny.
And I don't call people out for it, but you know, for you, I was like, you know what? Yeah, I should.
Yeah, and I wasn't trying to be. I didn't think I was being sexist. That didn't even cross my mind. But it wasn't.
Right.
Until you said that it made me stop in my tracks.
Right.
And she'll tell you.
And
I
that's
was
the whole
upset.
point.
I was upset at first because I'm not sexist. I'm not sexist.
And that's the whole point about this whole conversation we're having right now. It's not about the fact that you are sexist. It's about the fact that you didn't even think that it's a sexist comment because it's just considered the standard.
Right. Exactly.
So we're questioning the standard today.
Exactly. Because like I see it now. This is like, James Brown wrote that song. It's a man's world, and it really is.
Yeah.
And everything, like you said, you have to fit in that world basically, and which is why I wanted to talk about this. And I'm not gonna lie, I knew it was gonna be uncomfortable. I knew bringing Michelle on was gonna be challenging and uncomfortable for me. You know what I mean? Yes.
To interrupt real quick.
Yeah.
Episode 10.
Okay.
Okay, episode 10, y'all.
Yeah. that's where Michelle told her story about surviving cancer. So,
But I think it was the next episode that I was on that I called you out on it and we talked about it.
yes,
That's
yes,
correct.
yes. So anyway, this is why I wanted for all the brothers out there to make sure that they're listening, because this is something that we really should open our eyes to, especially those of y'all that are fathers of daughters. You have nieces. You know, I don't have kids, but I have nieces.
Goddaughters.
You have daughters. Goddaughters and stuff like that. And this is stuff that we really, really should think about, right? And I think you hit the nail on the head. You know, I love my grandfather. My grandfather is like on a high pedestal for me. You know, I miss him whenever I think about him. It aches because I miss him so much, and he's taught me so much. You know, and forgive me if this sounds sexist. I'm just gonna say that right now. But I miss him so much because he taught me so much how to be a respectable man.
But I don't think that's sexist. You know, there's just different definitions for.
Right.
There's not one definition of what makes you a man. I think what makes you a good man or a good person is respecting others in general.
And see, I think that's a good thing to state now too, because I don't want the men out there to think, or how can I say, I don't want you to apologize for being a man. Mm-hmm. I just want you to be aware of what I wasn't aware of.
Well, women's equality doesn't mean that we're pushing you down. For us to rise, it doesn't mean we're pushing you down in order for us to rise.
But to be fair, there are a lot of women out there. It doesn't feel that way. Let me just
it's
put it that way.
It's a misconception. That's exactly why I said it.
Right.
And that's why I wrote it down in my notes, is because that is the misconception that when women are rising, men is like, well, women are doing this and blah, blah, blah. And they feel threatened, like we're pushing them down, but we're not. Mm-hmm. It's equality. Mm-hmm. We're not taking anything from you to have equal pay. Do you know what I'm saying?
On that topic, equal pay.
Yeah.
So the U.S. women's soccer team is fighting for equal pay because they've done better than the U.S. men's soccer team has. What are your thoughts?
Well,
I mean,
I think that's good.
I mean,
it shouldn't even have to be like a doing better or not doing better thing. It should have been equal pay to begin with. Do you know what I'm saying? Because they're both doing.
I get
you know what I mean? Women and men and women. You know how much Ronnie Coleman gets for winning Mr. Olympia?
No.
I mean, there's like hundreds of thousands, millions. I don't know, millions, whatever. But you know, like Miss Olympia. Did not mean to be Miss Olympia, but I think of like the women that are winning number one in figure. They don't even make enough money to pay to reimburse themselves for getting to the show. Their tan, their prep, their suit, their sparkly suit. It's like $4,000.
Yeah,
maybe $10,000. I don't know.
Just recently, and
they're the ones that bring the people in.
Yeah, I know you had to have seen
at least on the amateur level.
Just recently, right now is March Madness, right?
Right.
So the women's basketball team. Did you see this? It was all over social media. One of the members of the women's basketball, one of the teams, put up on social media, this is our workout area. This is our weight room. And they it was just a little stack of little weights. That's it. And then she said that she was told it's because they didn't have the room, and that she proceeds to show the large room.
Men's room.
The large area that was by that little weight stand. Whereas the men had all the state-of-the-art equipment.
And they couldn't share it?
No.
Why not?
Yeah, I know. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
exactly.
Yeah, I get your point. But you also... It's an ugly way to say this. But unfortunately, in sports today, you have the domestic violence situation with sports. They separate them because there's Deshaun Watson. He's accused of sexually abusing other women.
Right. Then he shouldn't be in there, and he shouldn't be doing it. Yeah.
So you don't know what he's doing. They mask a lot of that from the media and from us. Which I agree 100% with your point. You know what I'm saying? I'm not combating you. That's the unfortunate standard that they have to set for the men and the women. I hate that standard.
Well, what you're saying is really, pushing in our point that we were saying is that women are treated differently because of men's behavior.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Women have to walk to their car differently because of the way that men treat them, or not all men. That's the thing, and it's not all men.
Oh, that's a whole other podcast right there.
Right, but it's like, just like you were saying, just like the
enough
whole thing.
men.
I mean, what you just said is exactly what Rob was talking about in the first place. When like women have to walk to their car differently because or more aware of other things and scared differently because of the way that men treat them, or enough men, or because it happens to them.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing as like, okay, because this one a-hole that is doing whatever, in the basketball, the women don't get something because one guy, and that's not, and it's not fair, and it's
so
not, and
sad.
we're not categorizing. I don't look at all men as somebody that's going to attack me. I don't feel that way.
Right.
But if I walk into a room, like, okay, if I go to a party and it's mostly men, do I stay? No.
Right.
Not like I actually go to parties, but I'm just saying.
I get what you mean, though.
But yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
that's why you always have girls with you.
Right.
That's why you have your girls with you. Or
Is that
Because
why?
that's just asking for a raping.
Is that why women go to the restroom in pairs? Things of that nature? Because you're scared of the environment? That's a legitimate question.
It depends. I mean,
Or it's just
if it's
because
an
they wanna-
unfamiliar
yes and
environment,
no.
Is it
Yes
'cause
and
they
no,
wanna talk
because
about the
sometimes
guy?
there could be a creeper dude out there that you're like, yo, I'm not going over here by myself. Come with me.
yeah. Or sometimes we just want to talk.
Yeah,
you
and
know?
tell each other how pretty we are. Isn't that pretty? When we're drunk, that's what we
You
do.
know, you were talking about the sports thing. I do got to say
And I
this.
just totally brought us down like 10 years.
You know what? Women can be girly. It's okay. You know, I mean,
And
it
there's
doesn't
nothing
make you
wrong
any
with
less.
being girly. Women
Yeah.
can be women.
Yeah. So last week,
I don't know. I don't know if I should slap myself for saying that, but okay.
last week, real quick. So everybody knows I'm a wrestling fan, right? Pro wrestling fan. Last week, there was a real big match on AEW Dynamite that comes on Wednesdays. And this is a perfect example of what we're talking about. There was an awesome match between Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker, both female wrestlers, right? But here's the thing: the reason why it was such a great match, like, don't get me wrong, it was a great match. It was it was exciting. I loved every minute of it. But I started to see and read the comments, and I realized why it was such a great match. And don't get me wrong, it was for a good reason. But it was because everything that they did, right? Everything that they did in this match, had it been done by two men, probably wouldn't have been as great.
Electrifying.
As great. But the fact that it was done by women really propelled it, because they there was a woman, they were both busted open. Number one.
What is busted open?
bleeding.
They were bleeding.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they got color. They were bleeding.
Colored?
Yeah, that's
Blood.
Like the
wrestling
blood.
term.
Okay, no,
Get the red.
I had the same question as you.
It's got all this wrestling
What
lingo.
does this
They
mean?
busted out. They busted out the tacks. They
God
they
dang.
got power
Get thumbtacks. Yeah.
power bombed on
I was like,
thumbtacks.
tax? Like.
They did their taxes? That's insane.
No, they busted out the thumbtacks. They were
Okay.
they power bombed each other on the thumbtacks. They were doing insane dives off the top rope, through tables. I mean, everything that you would see in like a men's like hardcore match, no rules match, they did.
Right.
Amazing match, awesome match, right? But yeah, it was like everything they were saying, and I'm glad that they brought the women's level up, right? That's awesome. But going back to what you were saying, there's that thing again. That's like, well, if it would have been two men, it probably wouldn't have been that big of a deal.
They
And
did
it's-
good for women.
Exactly.
I will say though, like in the wrestling front, I think it's still progress. Like even though it's still, like, oh, they did good for women. When you look back at where women's wrestling used to be, it wasn't even women's wrestling.
No.
It was-
Divas or knockouts or whatever. And it was like bra and panty matches or like
Right.
it was
Like a mud wrestling thing.
Yeah,
Like,
like,
we're gonna get in
women were
Jell-O.
just
Yeah.
they were literally
They're eye candy.
They were eye candy. They were
Exactly.
objects, and there was like nobody made any bones about it.
Right.
So I will say that it is progress.
sure.
It's
I
definitely
agree.
a step forward, which I believe is significant.
Right.
I mean, yes, those comments are still made, but yeah, as far as wrestling goes and women, when you look at the history of it, yeah, I mean, women were just.
Yeah,
Boobs and butts in the ring.
Yeah,
Like that.
wrestling is a
Yeah.
mostly
fishnets.
male driven.
Not anymore though.
It's changing.
It used
But
to be a
why?
male chauvinistic way.
Yeah, but why? So when we say
Because
used
women
to,
don't fight. Women are
they weren't
made
allowed
to be pretty.
I mean, my daughter is a wrestler. We're not. I mean, not that type of wrestler.
Right.
Yeah.
She's a real wrestler.
She's a wrestler.
She's an
wrestler.
awesome wrestler.
Real
And-
wrestler.
But there's, there is finally, I mean, like there's a lot of wrestling, female wrestling in the high schools now down here in Texas. but there wasn't for the longest time.
that's true.
You know, and then colleges, there weren't many places for her to go because there weren't any. She was offered a couple scholarships for wrestling. She's freaking awesome, you know, and
I saw the video.
yeah, but then like up north, there's definitely a whole lot more, and that's where I say it's progress because it's like, well, I mean, it's just not a girl's sport. It's like it was not a girl's sport because you didn't offer it.
This is what I mean, Michelle. This was after the match.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Blood.
Yeah.
Melissa, what were I'm sorry. I know you have more topics, but I know Melissa had some good topics that she wanted to talk about for
please.
sure.
Yeah, I mean, I swear, like we can do so many podcasts on this type of stuff.
We should do a month of this.
Right.
So,
For real.
you know, because I mean, me and Michelle were talking about, of course, like the Me Too movement. I know one of the things I think kind of coming off of that entitlement to a woman, like that ownership, is the friend zone. Like that was one of
I want to hear what you have to say about the friend zone.
like, oh god, that has always made me so mad. Like to me, 80s and 90s rom-coms ruined everything for women. I swear, you know, just that fact that
I'm over here. I'm like, yeah. I love rom-coms because but it's also like Disney, where you're like this fantasy, and you're like, you know, that's not real life. It's not.
It's a male fan. I mean, depending.
Is it?
You know,
okay, I want to hear what you say.
I mean, because the ones that I'm thinking about are usually male fantasies, just because. And I'm not saying too that this can never happen. You know, it's usually like, you know, the women only goes for, you know, jerks, and they always treat her bad, and there's that one like meek little,
like the dorky little best friend.
Yeah, the one little best friend, like who does everything for her, and you know, like he was there the whole time, and she suddenly realizes like, oh, this is the love of my life, you know. And unfortunately, you know, like Jerry Seinfeld, like I love that show so much, but I remember they did this episode of The Friend Zone where it's just basically how did he describe it? It was basically where you're such good friends with the woman that they can't see you as a partner. Yeah. And the thing is that there's no such thing. Either a woman is interested in you or she is not.
It's just those two things.
And the thing is that friend zone, I feel like it just kind of
it's
evolved.
Like a benefit for the man to feel better about himself kind of thing?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. It turned into like, oh, I'm a nice guy. You know, I deserve, you know, like I deserve
the hottie.
Yeah, I treat this girl, you know, like so good, and I buy her things. Like I should, a woman becomes something that should be won because you're nice to her.
I get you. I was like, light bulb. Okay, I did all these good things, so I deserve her.
Yes.
He doesn't deserve her. I deserve her.
For me, that's why I'm thinking about those 80s and 90s rom-coms. There's always that meek little guy like, oh, I did this for her, I did that for her, and then all of a sudden at the end, she loves me, and I win, you know?
Yeah.
And the thing is that it turns into this entitlement.
It still objectifies women in a sense that,
you know, it's just like, are you friends with this woman because you want to be friends with her? Or are you friends with her because you're expecting eventually to get in her panties? Yeah, exactly.
My mind is going to work on this for a while.
Yeah, and that's something that's been plaguing me forever because I keep friend zone. How come these women just put me in a friend zone? Like, no.
Because you're the friend. Because you are a friend.
Because she is not attracted to you. I'm sorry. It doesn't
She doesn't owe you anything because you're nice to her.
Exactly.
Period.
It doesn't mean that she's shallow.
Yeah.
Wow. Because that's another thing that, she's shallow. All she wants is those, you know, super good looking guys that treat her like crap. Like, no, there's... You know, what she is attracted to is her business.
Yeah, I mean, like, you're attracted to her because she's amazing and beautiful and awesome. And how is that not shallow? Yeah. It's only shallow for her.
It's very shallow.
Exactly. And not only that, what I always think is whenever she's putting me in a friend zone. So you have never in your entire life had a female who liked you, but you did not see her in that way.
Yeah.
She wasn't ugly. She wasn't a horrible person. You just did not see her. You know, that's all it is. And the friend zone.
So we don't owe you anything because you're good to us.
It villainizes the woman because, you know, she's shallow. She just wants these type of guys. I give her everything, and she doesn't even look at me like. First of all, tell her something, give her a chance to like you. And second of all, if she doesn't, that's her business. She doesn't have to like you just because you buy her things or because that's your choice, you know?
You know,
and
so
I know, I'm really stewing on this because
friend zone has like, ooh,
I can tell that this is something that bothers you. I was like,
this has been a hot button for me.
I haven't really thought about it because honestly, I've never really dated. I've always just gone from like boyfriend, husband. That's it. You know what I mean? So it's like these are things that they're interesting.
I do want to take.
have had lots
I
of
want to
friends,
take this opportunity right now to apologize to Dana from back when I was in school.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Didn't realize I was such a creep.
It's not even a creep thing. No, like seriously, think about what
let me
Melissa
tell you
said.
why I'm
Oh wait, is there
apologizing.
If you
another part of the
respected
story?
her,
Yeah.
then that's one thing.
No, I did respect her, but here's why I'm apologizing, because you got a good point. You said something earlier that really stuck with me, and this is something that, Will, you could probably agree to this, that we were taught. You know, if she tells you no, there's something else you got to change about you, or you gotta win her over. You got to do this.
Yes.
You got to be persistent.
Well, we do the same thing though.
Dude,
we really do.
I didn't leave this girl alone for like 4
Yeah.
years.
You know, but
There's a
you
time
just
to stop.
brought up a point though. I
Yeah,
actually
go
lost
ahead.
a best friend. He was so mad at me because I didn't want to be his girlfriend. And I felt like he thought that he had done his due diligence and I was in love with somebody else. I mean, he ended up becoming my husband. Daniel became my husband.
Yeah.
Different Daniel, y'all. But he, wanted me to be his girlfriend. And I was like, that's not who we are. You're my best friend. And then he got mad and there was a lot of other ugly things, and we can go into that another day.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's like, apparently I owed him to be his girlfriend because he was so good to me. And it's like, no. And that's the other thing, like, oh, well, you're just being a cock tease, or you're just being a
Yes.
tease. It was like, you led me on. I was like, I led you on because I'm nice to you. I led you on because you think I'm beautiful, because I'm pretty, or I'm kind to you. You think I'm leading you on because I'm nice to you? Well, what am I supposed to do? So like, there's that double standard.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Good
Yeah.
point. Very
For sure,
good
for
point.
sure. So on
So
that
yeah,
note,
that fine line of being nice and
on
flirty.
that note, you said the perfect word, because I want to talk about that next. It's funny. I was
Was it
thinking-
cock tease?
No.
It was like, take Michelle's old fashioned away now.
It was double standard. But
Okay.
anyway,
But we were just talking about that last
But
night, by
anyway.
the way.
Cock tease or double standard?
double standard.
No, well, never
let's
mind.
not say that word anymore. How about that?
the CTs, because that's what we become if, like, we're remotely nice to somebody,
Right.
and then we don't give them what they want. Well, you're just a tease.
And you did
Yeah.
say that word, actually.
I did, because it's a thing,
Yeah.
like that's something, or I
mean,
don't know if there's a
not
bad like slut
vagina
or
tease, is there?
yeah.
Is that a word?
I mean,
It's not a
but
word. I'm gonna start calling somebody that.
I like that.
What a
But
V
no.
teased, yo.
But I mean, basically an insult, calling
Yeah.
her, something like they're leading them on purposely to
Right.
hurt them when
Right.
that's not the case, It's
Yeah.
just, yeah.
I mean,
Gotcha.
I'm sure that there are some women that
There
do
are,
that, but it's like getting mad at somebody for not liking you back, and
Yeah.
that's
Right.
pretty.
You're an adult, you chose to do
Exactly.
those things, if you did
Yeah,
not,
and then, but then there's also the shaming of the female that does, like, go back into high school, something like you. Then there's like, oh, well, she's just you're a bitch. Oh, sorry,
you're
you know
fine.
what I'm saying?
You already
Like,
said-
all the derogatory
You already said the other
terms.
word. I
Like,
think
you're
it's-
that. You're a slut. You're this. You're that.
Love
Like
one.
all of those things that that you're that we.
But I mean,
that
this
goes back
is
to having
true.
to
These are
please
things
you
that
guys
we
and
hear
make you
all
happy.
the time,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and if we
very
don't do
true.
something
If
that
we
you
don't give
like-
a man something that they want, we're
So to
It's something's
interject
wrong
real
with
quick-
us.
To interject real quick, you do understand that the conversation you're having right now, men have this exact same conversation too.
Meaning?
And it's don't talk to that girl. She's just a tease. Don't do this because she's just
Yes.
that. She's just that. And doing what we're talking,
Yeah.
it's literally how rumors get circulated about women.
Yes.
Right.
And the demasculate a woman, men conversate a lot faster than as weird as that is. We could spread a rumor about a woman 10 times faster.
yeah.
Than
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm sure we could
Trust me,
we
I
could all do
know.
that.
Yeah.
I've
You
had
know.
it said about me.
Wow. I'm gonna kill that. guy.
Okay, on that note,
not
She
recently.
even made a face about that. I was
Really?
like,
Yes,
you know?
exactly. You make the wrong man mad.
Oh, right.
Everybody thinks you're
Yeah.
a slut. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, we need to take a break. And when we come back, I want to kind of touch that topic on double standards. So
Okay.
I definitely want to talk about it. It's funny. I thought we were going to have time to talk about another topic, but we
Nah, forget
There's
that.
so many
There is.
topics.
We could do so many.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll be right back after these messages. Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Rob T, from What's on My Mind. Listen, we're about to start the podcast. Before we do, I just wanted to say a few words about our awesome sponsor, Metroflex Gym San Marcos. We've been pumping them like crazy on the show. And there's a reason for that. You see, it was a few years ago. It's probably about 5 or 6 years ago. I first stepped into Metroflex. I got to meet the owners, Daniel and Michelle Hagerty. And let me tell you something. Just them alone makes the very reason why I go to this gym. Back at that time, I was at my heaviest at 465 pounds. Yeah, pretty heavy, I know. Anyway, I walked into the gym. I talked to Daniel and told Daniel exactly what was going on with me at the time. I had some health issues and things like that. And he wasn't interested about, the money. He was interested more in me and my health. And I will never, ever forget that. So, it's for that reason alone that I still continue to go to Metroflex. This is about 6 years ago. Now, since then, I've had, fluctuations, of course, as we all do. But the one thing that I love is that these guys don't give up on me. They don't call me a quitter. They don't press me or anything, but they definitely motivate me. If you are looking for a gym that is going to look at you and care for you like family, I'm telling you, you've got to go to Metroflex Gym San Marcos. If you're in the San Marcos area, it could be Kyle, Buda, could be New Braunfels. You're not that far away. Metroflex Gym is really not that far away. Look, the address, it's really simple. It's 2101 Clovis Barker Road, San Marcos, Texas, 78666. That's Highway 123, like you're going to Seguin. It's not that far. Okay, look, if you want more information, look them up online, www.metroflexsanmarcos.com, or give them a call, 512-878-8575. Metroflex Gym. They care for you like family, but also it is the hardcore place to get back in shape. Don't forget, Metroflex Gym. Hey, are you a super fan of the What's on My Mind podcast? Are you ready to show it off? Well, now you can, because we've got official merchandise. You need a t-shirt so that your friends can know who you listen to? All you got to do is contact us, WOMMpodcast@gmail.com. We got shirts, we got cups, we got stickers, all for you. Contact us today. And we're back. What a conversation. Real quick before we get going on this topic, I do got to bring up this last segment we're going to do here is sponsored by Collector University. That's Collector University. You can find them on Facebook and on Instagram. Just search Collector University. They are your hookup for pop culture collectibles like Funko Pops, Pokemon cards, comic books, anything that you can think of that's kind of like for that special nerd in your life. I mean, this is the place to go. I covet and love my my Boba Fett bobblehead Funko Pop because it's huge. It's an awesome thing, and I got it from Collector University. So again, if you want to search Collector University, you got to go to Instagram and Facebook. Professor J will hook you up with some of the best stuff that's out there, and he's got really great prices. Not only that, when he sends you your order, he always likes to include something a little extra for you. Okay, so just remember that Collector University on Facebook and on Instagram. All right, so we're back with our discussion. We've been having a wonderful, great discussion, and let's be real. There are times I personally have been a little uncomfortable, but it's good because this is the kind of stuff that needs to be talked about. So I wanted to go into this segment talking about the double standard that we have in this world. But before we do that, we were talking in the break. Michelle, you got to talk about this story, man, about this whole bra snapping thing.
Well,
Will brought it up.
I brought it up.
Will, yeah, we'll start with Will.
Will brought it up. What was it you were saying, Will?
I was talking about the story on social media a couple of years ago.
It's making a weird noise. Do you
How
hear
about
it?
now?
Okay, that's better. Okay.
Can hear you now.
Yeah.
So I was talking about the story a couple of years ago where that young lady was getting her bra popped by a student.
Right.
And how she got disciplined for it.
Right.
And then when she caught her mother,
Right.
they filed
Sexual assault.
charges against the
school and stuff
and the
like that.
teacher and stuff like that.
Right,
And then that triggered Michelle to say,
Yeah.
I have a story about bra snapping. I totally forgot about bra
I
snapping.
completely forgot about it.
Right.
It was a thing.
It is a thing for some
I
people.
think I wonder. I feel like.
I mean, that was like a normal thing when I was in middle school.
Well, it's funny because, well, I mean, I did swear a little bit when I was telling this story, so I'm going to try to tame it down. No, just now. I mean, when I was talking about it, I was like, I think this was around the same time. I was like, man, it's all when I moved to Belton. It was like 6th grade, and I was at intermediate school, and so this might have been the first time I was quote unquote sexually assaulted.
Okay.
Or I wouldn't even call it that. I mean, I guess maybe so, but we were talking about double standards is what we were talking about, actually.
Yes.
So I got in trouble for it. I remember, him and his friends, but they kept popping my bra and they were like throwing balls at me and stuff, and just saying stuff. And I just got so irritated, and it had been happening for a while.
Right.
By a while, I mean weeks, and I was just so pissed off eventually. And we were playing Foursquare. I don't remember what we were playing. We were like at a baseball field or something like that. And they were heckling me from the outfield. And I just yelled out, I was like, shut up, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to say his name. And I held up the bat. I was like, before I shove this bat up your butt. And I, I stopped myself from cussing, and I was just screaming at him. Right. And the coach, she's like, Michelle, go stand over by the wall. And I got in trouble, and I had to stay after class. And she's like, I'm really disappointed in you, and was giving me this speech about it. And I was so, I was just so, oh gosh, like I'm mad now when I think about it. And I was mad when I was telling the story a second ago, because I haven't thought about it in a long time about how I got in trouble because a guy was picking on me. And she was telling me, she's like, they like you, right? And I'm like, because you're pretty. And I'm like, right, exactly. And
yes.
And I'm like, I don't know. I was just mad, and I got in trouble for it.
Right.
I don't remember him. He didn't stay after class.
But Michelle,
he didn't get in trouble.
Boys will be boys.
Yes.
And
right?
that's a freaking double standard.
Right?
And I was so mad about it.
Standard.
Yeah.
And I'm like more mad about it now when I think about it, because
back then we didn't know,
Yeah.
but it was a female coach,
That's crazy.
But that's how conditioned,
Yeah.
I mean, back in the day.
But he'd
That's
been
the perfect
popping my bra strap. He'd been, touching my body, for how many times. And I just finally got fed up. I blew up, and I got in trouble for being the loud, mean girl that's yelling at the boys.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the perfect example of the double standard, right? The comment was probably, well, boys will be boys. Well, they like you. So
Yeah, she didn't say boys will be boys, but I do remember, that they like it. I'm like, and then there's that part of me is like, oh, they do, but no,
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
but I was 6th grade.
Yeah.
Right.
I remember having a bra was a embarrassing thing. I mean, 'cause I was an early bloomer, so.
I was an early bloomer too.
Yeah.
And then it stopped blooming.
Yeah. Yeah, I got a lot of titty twisters and boob punches.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes. It's a thing.
Yeah, lots of bra straps, bra snaps.
Yeah.
Because I started wearing a training bra when I was like in 2nd grade.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Wow.
Well, no, I was 3rd.
I mean, was it 2nd, 3rd?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I think, I'm sorry, like 3rd, 4th, around there.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that was embarrassing thing, like, oh my God, I mean, but that was something to be embarrassed about.
Yeah.
Well, so back to what we were saying a second ago, because you had said something about when you were a little kid.
Yeah, so I'll share this story.
Okay.
I'll be honest. I said
and then I'll share what I had responded.
Right.
Okay.
I said I wasn't sure I wanted to share the story because thinking about it back now, I'm a little ashamed about it, right? But so when I was in 3rd grade, I had a crush on this little girl. I still remember.
Oh,
her.
it was 3rd grade? I was thinking you were like kinder.
No,
this changes everything, Rob.
Exactly.
No, it doesn't. It does.
No,
this was 3rd grade, and I still remember the girl's name to this day. I remember her name was Geneva. Right.
See, you can tell the name of the girl that did that, but for some reason, I'm not telling the names of the boys that
I didn't say
did
a last
stuff
name.
to me. Oh, well, I remember their names, and I feel like I should call them out on Facebook.
So, anyway,
tag him in the post.
So anyway, so there was this girl in 3rd grade. Her name, and I remember her name. It was Geneva, and I had a huge crush on her. I thought she was pretty. I thought she was really sweet. I remember I liked the way she talked. I liked the way her hair looked. She had really long hair. Bunch of stuff that I liked about her. So in my little brain at the time in 3rd grade, how old are you in 3rd grade anyway? I don't even remember.
10?
What, 7, 8 years old?
I don't know.
Anyway, so in my brain at that time, I thought because I like her, I should kiss her, right?
Yeah.
So I remember I was on the playground, and I had told my friends, I like her. I like Geneva, right? Mm-hmm. And so you should go over and kiss her because you like her. So I went over, I grabbed her, and I gave her a kiss.
Planted one right on her.
Yeah, I just gave her a kiss, and she ran off crying. And I got in trouble for that, right?
Yeah.
Well, then when I get home, Here was a funny side note, right? There was no way I could escape it because the monitor of the playground of that grade lived across the street from me. So as soon as I got home, she went and told my mom what I did, right? So anyway, but when I got in trouble, I'll never forget it. I'll never forget the words my mom said. She said, "It's stuff like that turns you into a rapist."
Dang!
That's what she told me.
Yeah.
That's what she told me.
Wow.
So I remember feeling like the worst piece of crap on the face of the earth because now I am well on the way to becoming a rapist because I did that. That is exactly how I felt at 3rd grade, 8 years old, whatever it was. That is how I felt.
See, and I feel like that's extreme, but that's
extreme.
Yeah, and but what I responded to is like,
Yes.
so it's not the fact that you did that is like, oh my God, you're a horrible person,
Right,
you know, and I think that's where people start getting, I guess, their panties in a wad or whatever, like, oh, snowflakes or blah, blah, blah. Or, oh, guys are rapists because they kiss a little girl, or kids are getting in trouble for doing, a 5th grader kissed a girl. Now he's going to juvie, it's stuff like that. It was like, so what I had said to you earlier was that it doesn't mean that you're a bad person. I was like, that's just a conversation starter.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that all kids should start conversations like that, but I'm saying that
It's a learning experience.
Right.
That's
And
how
that is the
True.
opportunity for the mother to say, hey, let's discuss boundaries and personal
Yeah.
space. Let's
We don't
talk
do
about
that.
Exactly. And so that's where the conversations come up. I mean, they should come up before then.
Right.
But it's not, I mean, I say this all the time. My kids do stuff and I was like, God, I never thought I would have to say that sentence ever. Like, Elijah, don't climb on the roof. You're 4 and in boots. It's like it's just stuff like that. Like some of the things as parents we don't really know what to say, and you don't want to just preemptively throw in all of this extra stuff put in their heads that they were never thinking about. Then it's just going to start this rabbit trail of other thoughts. You're like, oh gosh, I don't know when is the appropriate time to say these things.
Right.
But it's the parent's responsibility to see it, understand it, and be like, all right, cool, let's talk about this.
Yeah.
Like, no, you're not supposed to do that. You're in trouble for disrespecting somebody else's boundaries, and let's talk
Right.
about it. Let's talk
Right.
about somebody else's personal space. And then, earlier we were talking about private parts, and nobody touches your private parts, and you don't touch anybody else's private parts,
Right.
and blah blah blah.
I
So
think
stuff
we
like
need
that.
to I think we need to get away from the subject matter being so taboo.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
growing
That's going to
up,
be taboo, though.
well, but the thing is,
But it's not. It doesn't have to be taboo.
It doesn't have to be, but our generation or the society,
that's
put
what
that way,
needs to change.
make it. And,
right.
and we're
And
for
that's-
people.
and that's
all
what needs to
agreeing
change.
the same thing.
Because I remember growing up, right? I'm gonna say it. It's hilarious now, but I'm gonna say it. Growing up in a Christian household, like I did, right? As males, it is common. This is the male way of growing up. When you're a man or when you're a young boy going into, adolescence, right? Puberty, during that time period, those boys, sorry for all you out there that get easily offended, but they have what's called wet dreams.
Wet dreams.
Right? Okay. I was told I was having sex with demons.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? This thing.
You're responsible.
But that's what I'm saying. We make this so taboo. You don't have to be in a Christian household. It's just something that for some reason our
natural.
parents were afraid to talk about. And that's
Yeah.
the thing is we cannot
I'm not
be-
even sure if I had that conversation with the kids. I was like, hey, we're going to watch Bridesmaids. He just talks about breaking a sheet in half. Like, that's just,
You know what? Like, for
it
the
is what it is, boys.
Hey, you know
for
what?
the 80s, my
Dang,
parents
someone do that.
my parents handled it pretty well. Like they showed me like an educational like cartoon, and then
Made in the 60s? Huh? Was it like made in the 60s or something? Or
no. But I do remember also my mom. Like I don't know if y'all's parents did this. Like
Right.
if you were watching a movie
Probably
and
not.
like a what's it called? Like a suggestive scene came on.
Oh,
like
close your eyes, close your eyes.
Or she would cover your eyes.
Yes.
My grandma
But-
would do that
but
every
my
time they
mom-
would kiss on
So my
soap
mom,
operas.
my mom would do that when I was young, but then a little older, I remember there was a scene where it wasn't like a sex scene or anything, but somebody was walking and like their butt was showing, and like she covers my eyes, and then she was like, you know what? No, it's the human body, and like she uncovered
Yeah.
my
Oh,
eyes.
wow.
Yeah, and then I remember like at least a couple of times, like, no, you know what? It's the human body, and like she
Right.
uncovered my eyes. So I was like, you know what? Yeah.
Kudos
yeah.
to your mom for doing
Yeah,
that.
Well, no, that's
and
good. I
not only
mean-
because my mom was raised in a really old school,
Yeah, for sure.
so that was pretty
sure.
progressive
Well,
for that time.
That's what I was just talking about to you a second ago, was that, that's why we use the words vagina, penis,
Right.
because
Yeah.
if you make those body parts and you make sex a horrible thing, or like a no thing, or a shameful thing, I mean, that's something that we grew up as women, is that I don't know if y'all grew up that way, but we grew up as dirty and shameful,
Yes.
so Catholic, and I know that like I feel shame for feeling aroused, growing
Yeah, for
up,
sure.
and
it's
it's
dirty.
like, and so you talk about wet dreams, but girls, they explore themselves when they're younger.
Right.
And,
But you're not supposed to.
we're not allowed to, or, but it's also like, but you're not supposed to like boys. They're supposed to
Yeah.
like you,
Yeah.
and those are the things that, I still wrestle with
I
as an
grew up the
adult, as
same way.
freaking almost 40 years old. And I still wrestle
Preach.
with that. I'm not,
Yeah,
I'm not
for sure.
allowed to be the pursuer. If I
sure.
do, it's too forward,
Right.
I don't know.
I grew up the
The whole
same way.
double standard.
Sex was the bad thing, right?
Right, but you still know that you're the one that's allowed to be the one pursuing the female
For
and
sure,
not the
for
other
sure.
way
Yeah.
around. So
Right.
that's where the double standard still comes in.
Correct.
So
That
just
is the
to-
double standard.
Yeah.
Because right away, the biggest one that screams to me when I think double standard is the whole concept of, the woman that decides she's going to date some guy and she chooses to sleep with him on that date or whatever, and then the next week dates somebody totally different and she makes the choice to do that again or whatever.
Yeah.
That woman is automatically considered a slut.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas if a guy does it,
He's a player.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Here's another one,
Player,
dude.
yo.
Here's another one. This one was so. This one just screamed out to me. I don't want to put any personal
Names.
information out there or anything like that. But take for example the stereotypical male, right?
Right.
Has a son,
Right.
and the son comes up to the son. They end up discovering that the son, had sex and he was only 12.
I remember that.
Right.
Ooh.
I remember
Right.
that joke.
The guy, of course, wants to have a talk with the son, but in his head, he's like, "Yes, my boy." Right. But if it was the girl, same age, doing the same
If
thing,
it was his daughter,
Exactly,
he'd
then
be-
what?
He'd become
Lit.
unglued at that
exactly,
little boy. Yeah.
exactly. That's
She's been soiled.
yes,
She's been
exactly.
She's no longer
that's
pure.
that's the huge double standard. Now,
Yeah.
granted, we're talking about.
I feel like a
kids,
lot of
but-
people already know this double standard, though.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
there's so many things
That's
that are so
definitely
much
not
deeper
new.
than that, though.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But
no
you know what's
doubt, no
funny
doubt.
though, as a parent? So, growing up, this is what it was like in my household. So I got special treatment than my sister. She'll flat out tell you that.
Right,
She
right.
she's probably made that vocal when she was on the show.
Oh yeah,
last
she
year.
did.
So the thing is that my dad gave me his concept behind it. It's because boys go out and don't bring a child home. Girls come home with the child.
Well, I mean,
that's what
it's
the
like
standard
Daniel
was for them.
always said. He's like, you have a boy, you gotta worry about your boy. If you have a girl, you have to worry about all the boys. And it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, ha 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 ha.
Right, right.
That's hilarious, but
Right.
it's crap.
Yeah, no, I hear
the
you.
girl's
I
the
hear
one
you.
that gets stuck with it, and the boy can.
Well, I mean, no, it's like you have to worry about all the boys because your daughter. I mean, I don't know. I mean. Gosh, what was the whole point of this conversation
It was,
in the beginning? I mean, I just, there's
So many
there's
rabbit
just
holes.
So
Yeah.
We
it's
were
not
talking-
even rabbit holes, but there's just so many
We were talking
facets
double
of the
standards.
whole
So,
thing.
so let me bring another facet to this double standard thing, okay?
Okay.
So like I'll give you an example. I have a family member of mine, and I don't even think they listen to the show, but I have a family member of mine who has a son, and the son is in high school, and he's in dance, right? So why is it that in my stupid head, I automatically think, oh, he's gay?
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like this is a different subject, but at the
Yeah.
same time, a
Well, no,
man
because-
comes into dance. He's the only boy. We had one boy in our dance class, and all of a sudden, he was like the superstar.
Right, right,
like
but
you know what I mean. So he's amazing. But like again, when we're talking about women going into a male quote unquote dominated field, then it's like, oh, she's doing great for
A
a
woman.
girl.
I got you. I
But
got you.
never was anybody
got
like,
you.
oh, he's doing great for a boy.
Yeah.
got you.
Or it's impossible, especially a woman, think about a woman going into auto mechanics or,
Yeah.
I mean, the big thing, women going into STEM, like science,
Right.
mathematics. I mean,
Yeah.
it's almost, I don't want to say it's impossible, because now there's a lot more conversations, there's a lot more support behind it. But
Right.
before, it was unheard of.
You brought up, I think you actually brought up the point earlier, and it just brought a whole bunch of different memories. And so when Melissa and I
I'm
were
good at
first,
that.
when Melissa and I were first together, we were in a metal band together, Godspell. And I remember hearing it night after night whenever we play a gig. They would come up to Melissa while Melissa's performing on stage, you would see people come up and they're just enamored by her.
Yeah.
Just getting down. She's a great bass player, right?
Yeah.
She was good at what she did.
I mean, I did. I was enamored.
Yeah. And everything else.
Good bass player.
Rob, you're okay.
but-
For a guy.
But
Am
it
I a good
always-
bass player, or am I a good bass player for a woman?
That was my point. That's what
I just think you're amazing. But yeah.
It
different from me.
always
I agree.
ended up being that it was like, oh man, I love chick bass players. You
Right.
know, oh man, it's awesome that she. And I'll be the first to admit it. I was guilty of it.
Yeah.
I wanted to put her out there because it brought more eyes to the quote unquote product, being the band.
Yeah.
Having a chick bass player.
You know, I'm not going to lie and say that I don't feel proud whenever I do something that is in the male dominated world, you know, like I love, well, I mean, it's different now. I mean, I'm old now and there's lots of female MMA fighters and stuff, but I
Right.
did martial arts growing up and I did dance for like 10, 12 years. And I was like,
Right.
oh, I want to punch things,
Right.
you know? And I went into martial arts and I mean, I was good. And there were very few females in there. And I wasn't just good for a female. I was just good. And people would
Right.
always talk about like watching me do this. But I mean, I'm not going to lie. There is this part that's like you feel like you're accomplishing something because you're doing something that all the boys are good at.
Right.
Let me ask you this. Did you feel like you had to be like more badass because of that?
All the time with everything that I do. That's why I'm so
'cause
competitive.
with metal. Like whenever we had our band, like he was just talking about, I was very careful about, like, no, I'm taking my own equipment. I don't need, I don't want
Right.
somebody to take it in for me. Like
Right.
you have to work a little bit harder to earn your respect.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise you're just a chick.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's just the
Yeah.
eye candy.
I remember-
And that's because
look at
and not
her.
only I mean
she's trying.
I mean, yeah, exactly. And that's actually, I had told Rob this before, I have this habit where when we're doing music, if we're in a band and I have something to say, I always say it into the microphone. That way everybody can hear me. Because if I don't, I'm just going to get talked over.
Yeah.
Because I'm a female.
Right.
So that goes double in, like metal or anything that's male dominated, like you have to like force your place.
Isn't that interesting though that you get talked over all the time? I mean, do you ever feel like you're talked over, Rob? I mean,
In
what
this
about
podcast, yeah.
I do in this
But
podcast.
right. So,
But no, in everyday
but
life,
in general,
I mean,
no, you don't.
Yes,
and so,
I do. In my job, I do.
what do you do?
I work for an insurance company.
I know what you do. I don't know why I asked that. I'm sorry. I just wanted all the listeners to know.
No, I get what you're saying though.
Yeah, but it's. I forgot my
A
point.
perfect
but I
example.
mean, like you get not just talked over, but assume that you know less.
I was about to say that.
Yeah.
A perfect
Devalued.
example is
Yeah.
when I remember. I'll never forget the rehearsal. We had a rehearsal,
And then we always have to prove
and
ourselves.
and
Yes.
we were writing a song, and there was a riff that our guitar player had written, right? And it was a really awesome riff, right? And he was showing it to Melissa, and he told her, he goes, well, if you wanted, to simplify it for you, you can just do this.
Oh wow.
And the look on her face when he said that.
the room
know
got
what?
really hot.
Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
you know what? Like that wasn't even the one that really got
would
me.
he have said
honestly.
it to you?
No,
You
like
know what I mean?
that doesn't even really bother me because
Yeah.
I was kind of a beginner at the time. What really got me was
Yeah.
whenever we had our metal band and I made a suggestion. I don't even remember what it was,
Mm-hmm.
but there was a song. I was like, "Hey, why don't we do this?" Or it was like an event we were doing.
Right.
Or, yeah, great, yeah, sure. And then our guitar player, the male, said the exact same thing that
Yeah.
I said. They were like, "Oh, that's a great idea." I was like, "Are you freaking serious right now?" I said that literal exact thing, and everybody
Wow.
just kind
Guilty.
of.
See,
So that's why, yes,
but
exactly.
like, I'm with you.
know,
I've experienced this. So it's like, so earlier, Rob, when you asked me to give you an example of something, right?
Right.
Sometimes it's hard to pick out those examples because they happen so often and it's just so nonchalant for y'all and for everybody else, and we just, I'm not saying we brush it off,
Right.
but it's like, it happens so often that we're not keeping tally of all of them.
Yes.
I got you.
And it's
I
just
got
kind of
you.
like a normal thing. And it is frustrating, but then they're like, oh, look, her nostrils are flaring. She's irritated.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just
oh, look at her, she's mad again. Yeah.
but then the fact that we're talking about it right now, I know that there's men out there that are rolling their eyes like, oh my God, they're just going to complain
Here
about
we go
being a
again.
girl. And
Exactly,
it's
being dismissed.
like,
Right,
but then when your wife is disrespected, you're like, whoa, don't touch my wife that way. And it's like, exactly. So just, it shouldn't even be like that. It shouldn't even
Right.
come to that point.
Right. I hear you, man.
And at that point, when nobody taught. Is it about your wife or is it about you?
Oh, wow. That's a great point.
It's
And with that, we should start a whole new conversation with that next time.
Okay, that was good.
That's a great comment.
That was a great point. Okay, look.
For a girl.
Oh, yeah.
I'd say it a smart thing. Oh my God, I'm so smart, y'all.
You know what? I hate having to stop this, but we're going to need to continue this conversation. So I'm thinking possibly next week. Michelle, we may need to bring you back. So just saying.
Maybe the week after, do it.
Yeah.
You're like, I need a breather. Melissa and I will keep this going though. Well, I mean, you've got so many notes on your phone, and there really are so many great other topics that we can talk about, because I think that we get off on tangents and we go down rabbit trails, but there are
there's
so many
facets to this.
and there's so many really deep conversations that we can have that
like I was doing research, and I mean, you can go into honor killings, you can go into you know, I mean, there's like so many different.
I'm gonna do some research on chivalry.
To end the show.
No.
All right.
Okay, then watch.
Oh, so you're trying to silence us, is what you're saying?
Is that what you're saying? You're trying to quiet me down?
Will needs to drive back to Houston.
I got a 3-hour drive.
End the show.
It's okay.
Here, I ain't real quick watch.
We're gonna put a pin in this, and we are gonna continue this conversation. We'll talk after the show about when we can come back. I do have an idea for a guest that I would like to bring next week, but if we need to put it on hold, we can. We'll talk about that more after the show. But listen, I just want to thank everybody. I kind of want to give like an opportunity for you. You know what? Let's do this real quick. I know you did this last time you heard, but one more time for those that are maybe hearing the first time, can you please real quick just give your socials and everything for your art and things like that? I want to give you the opportunity to promote that, please.
Well, my name is Michelle Hagerty, and you can find me on Instagram for my art page as Michi's World of Chaos _art. I don't know, or you can just go to my website, and all of my social media will be on there. So it's Michi's World of Chaos, MICHIS World of Chaos.com, and then all of my social media is linked onto there. I'm an artist, but I also own Metroflex Gym, which is a sponsor of What's on My Mind.
Definitely.
Yeah, and Michi's spray tanning. I've got so many hats that I wear.
Renaissance woman.
Yeah, there's a lot of things, but right now I'm really focusing on my art. So that's why I come in here covered in paint.
Y'all check it out.
And you do have some great like video and stuff of murals and stuff that you're doing right now, correct?
Yeah, the one that I just posted it's pretty awesome. I'm excited about it. The one that I was doing a second ago sucks a lot, so I didn't post that. So
cool.
I'll be honest.
You guys definitely go check that out. You're gonna be definitely amazed and impressed with her work. I mean, I love your
Thank
work.
you.
I think your work is great for a woman. That was totally a joke.
Coming next week.
And a stab at her.
I know, and you know, and I've said this before, and I'm going to go ahead and say it again. Like actually on the air, I wouldn't be here if I didn't feel respected, and if I didn't feel like we have good conversation.
Gotta make sure to say that.
Rob and I. We do not agree.
I know that's what's
on
crazy,
a lot
right?
of things,
but we have such good chemistry. When
we really do. And but you listen, and I listen to you for the most part, you know. And I think that a lot of things, like you'll come even text me later on about stuff, and I was like, all right, I'm going to think about this one.
Because the stuff that you said, I'm not exaggerating when I say this, and I'm not doing this to blow smoke up your butt or anything like that. It's just truth be said, that the things that you have said to me and stuff in the past have made me think and have helped me become a better person. You know what I mean? And to me, that's something big. That's something serious, and I love you for it.
And that's why I love you, and that's why I love this podcast.
Even
That's
though
why
I
I
love
keep
me
coming
crazy
back.
sometimes.
Oh
but-
yeah,
No, I mean, I love that we can have these real, like, open conversations, and I hope that it elicits responses. Like, I hope you guys can have open conversations about this as well.
Yes.
Yeah, because that's how we make progress.
And I hope it's ruffling feathers as well.
Yes,
definitely.
Definitely.
Got to get
It
out of your
needs to.
comfort zone to make
for
progress.
sure.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us on the What's on My Mind podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us on Apple Podcasts. But remember that you can also find us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon, iHeartRadio, or any of your favorite podcast platforms, okay? Check out our official Facebook page at facebook.com/WOM-podcast. That's facebook.com/WOMM podcast. Also follow us on Instagram and Twitter. And you can always email us if you have any kind of questions, especially for this show, okay? If you have questions or you have stories or anything that you want to share with us about this topic, make sure you email us at wompodcast@gmail.com. WOM Podcast is WOMM Podcast at gmail.com. So any questions or comments that you might have, send them there, okay? So until next time, this has been Rob T.
Be well.
And Melissa.
And you've been listening to
What's on My Mind?